Hello and welcome to Not Every Single. I'm Joe.
And I'm Stephanie.
Welcome to Not Every Single 2023.
Wow.
Hope everyone had a good new year. We had a pretty good new year. Besides me getting a splitting headache at 11:30 p.m., we had a pretty good time staying in and watching Miley Cyrus and Dolly Parton's New Year's Eve bash special TV thing.
Whatever. We haven't had cable TV in a really long time. We're renting this house and there's cable, so we were pretty excited. Thank goodness the Miley thing was on.
Yeah, everything else kind of sucked.
I mean, it was kind of funny to see Andy Cohen and Anderson Cooper like on edibles.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty fun. But the Miley thing was cool.
Yeah, there was like a lot of, I mean, I'm not the biggest Fletcher fan, but like a lot of the other features were awesome. It was
David
cool
Byrne were there.
David Byrne, like, why was he there? I loved it.
Sia was there.
Sia, Paris Hilton,
and that
came out for Stars Are Blind.
It was the first time I heard that band, Lily. That was fun.
Oh my gosh. We were like watching that band and being like, how are they on this? Like, obviously Miley likes them and can put whatever she wants on, but it was so crazy. She was like, how would you describe that band? And
just like very noisy and aggressive and fun.
I was super into it, and I couldn't believe it was on an ABC New Year's Eve thing. It was amazing.
So that was a really cool special, and it was also kind of the first time I was hearing certain Miley Cyrus songs because I'm not super familiar. When I worked at a record store a few years ago, I heard her album Bangers because we had a rule that on Saturdays it was bangers only, meaning you could only play really good stuff.
Yeah, okay.
And so her record Bangers was a natural fit on Saturdays.
And this album, Plastic Hearts, that we're going to talk about, came out after that, obviously. So
yeah, and I hadn't heard it. This came out November 2020. Plastic Hearts, record I've never heard until yesterday. We're going to jump in.
Yeah, it took me a while to actually get into. I think I got into it 2021, maybe.
Okay.
And it's so good. I absolutely love this album, pretty much top to bottom.
Nice.
I'm the main pop girl of this channel.
Yeah.
So I'm into it. There's like a couple little like dips in it, but overall, it's an incredible album.
I really liked it. You know, we don't give like number ratings or grades or anything on this channel. I'm not really into that. I'll just say that I really like this record and I took a lot of notes.
Yeah, I was surprised how many notes I saw on you have a whole page.
I'm a note taker now, not in school. I was bad at it in school. Now I take a lot of notes.
If your homework was right about what you think about this band, you probably would have done it.
Yeah, if it was right about Plastic Hearts, I'd have plenty. We're going to start with track 1, WTF Do I Know? It starts with a badass bass line and tight drums, instantly hooky, getting you psyched for what you're about to hear. Love it. And
you just know right away, it's like, okay, Miley's in her rock. I know everyone likes to say era now. So like she's in her rock era. She's doing 80s rock throughout a lot of this album, and she's serving it like her vocally. She's doing a rougher thing than she does on her pop stuff.
Yeah, I wrote that down as like, I'm not crazy familiar with her stuff, like I said, but I've heard some songs. I've heard her in the Bill Murray Christmas special.
Our favorite.
And so obviously I know that she has some rasp to her voice and kind of a deeper voice, which is always interesting. But in this song, like right away, I'm just like, oh man, the rasp that comes through in the chorus is just like perfectly treated too. They like lean into it in the production and just like let that shine.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say too, I'm not that familiar with her back catalog either.
Sure.
This was the first one of hers I dived in. I had listened to Bangers, but as soon as I heard this one, I was all in. I was like listening to it all the time.
I heard Party in the USA a lot when I like worked at Safeway, and it'd play like 17 times during a shift. But, okay, we need to talk about this guitar solo though, because it is, I mean, at least the first part of the solo directly ripped from the Queens of the Stone Age song called Little Sister from around 2005. You may be familiar with it. It was a pretty big rock single that year. I mean, I don't really care that much. You know, people freak out over these things on the internet, but we're kind of at a time where everything's sort of mixed and genreless and using different things, and we're almost getting beyond the point of samples into this like amalgamation that we'll actually see later in this record with the remix with Stevie Nicks.
Yeah, and there's some sampling and stuff on this record, but this for sure, it's a little egregious because as you were pointing out, there's like even the way that
it's like an octave thing.
Yeah, like it's very specifically taken from
it's
that
like
song.
Not only the notes and melody, but like the effect. So it sounds the same.
But it works super well in this song.
I mean, it's one of those things where like this is my favorite song on the album, and it's a killer opener. And now that I've like listened to it a couple times, I've like gone back to that opening song a couple times. I don't want it without that solo.
Right.
I love it coming in. And, you know, whether they knew about this or not, like sometimes you have to be like, whatever, it fits the song. Like, you know. Plastic Hearts, the title track, track 2. I was a little dubious going into it because it starts with like these bongos, and I'm like, is this gonna be like Take a Walk on the Wild Side kind of thing or something? The Lou Reed song. And instantly it kind of transitions out of that vibe and into something a lot cooler.
Yeah, it has a great chorus.
Love the chorus.
Yeah.
That's what I wrote, is another good chorus hook, which seems to be something she is incredibly good at, is like just nailing these infectious choruses where like you hear it once and you want to hear it 1,000 times.
Yeah, I think she works with a lot of different songwriters, but she's either really good at picking songs or just having a great team around her. And I'm sure she contributes. I know she contributes somewhat to the writing as well. So, and
she works with really interesting people sometimes. There's that whole project she did with the Flaming Lips. That was an interesting time for her. I know a lot of people weren't super into that. I remember kind of digging it. I didn't hear the whole record, but I heard Do It. Would love to hear like some big rock guitars maybe.
Yeah.
I'm listening to the hook and I'm thinking like, okay, this is really cool, great hook, awesome. It almost sounds a little sparse. I'd love to hear like this song have like sort of the sleigh bells treatment.
Yeah, that's kind of where it differs from the opener a little bit, you know? It's a little pulled back. It's a little more pop.
And then we get into Angels Like You, which, okay, I like this record a lot. Don't like this song, really. I think it's a little early for a ballad to be track 3.
It is a little early I think this is a fine ballad. I do really like it. I think it's mostly her delivery that makes me like it as a song. You know, I don't think that like, the song itself has a ton of like standout merit. I think it's very good.
I think the use of the lyric, they say misery loves company, is like a little tired.
Yeah. This is a more cliche song lyrically than we get.
Sure.
I think so. That's a little bit of the hitch with it. But I enjoy it. It's in a weird spot. You're right. It's in a weird spot on the album.
Odd placement, because these first 2 songs really get me going. I'm like, I put it on. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. It's track 2 hits. I'm like, wow, I think I'm gonna really like this thing. And then it's just like comes to a screeching halt already.
Yeah.
And you're like 8 minutes into it.
Yeah.
I do really like this really distant guitar solo that sounds like it's in like a canyon in the next room or something. That's really cool.
Okay.
A lot of interesting production going on. And then we get into Prisoner with Dua Lipa, and you have some of that trendy random access memories type production coming in with just like tight drums and bass.
Yeah.
Loving it.
This is the most pop, least rock song on the album. I love Dua. I love Future Nostalgia. I love this collaboration with them. It feels a little more like, you know, Olivia Newton-John than, you know, it has a little similarity to Physical.
Physical. I wrote that down. Reminds me of Physical. Yeah.
So, but it works really well. It's a little more like glam or whatever than the rest of the album, but I still think it really fits in.
Yeah, I still liked it. And I'm going to throw this in there for the production geeks out there. Another example of, I'll call it a creeping trend. It's slowly starting to happen. It happened on All the Good Girls Go to Hell by Billie Eilish, and something else we talked about recently that I forget, stereo bass.
Okay.
The bass is 2 basses panned left and right,
Ooh.
which is a big no-no usually, but it's kind of starting to happen, and I always dig it because it just sounds so different. And and then you can, that kind of fills up the middle of the spectrum for some other stuff. Okay, I'll stop talking production. 1:40 in this song, 1 minute and 40 seconds. She does this yell, and the yell goes like up the scale. It's so cool.
Okay, I'm sure I know what you're talking about, but
it's a cool part.
I mean, she just does, her voice on this album she's using it, like, she has such a range. She has such a low range that most people can't hit. And then when she goes high, it just has a different timbre than most pop singers have.
Yeah.
And, I could compare it with Willow a little bit, where there's like a lot of grittiness.
Sure.
When she really gets up there. And I like that it's very Miley, it's just a signature.
She gives a total rock performance on this album. It sounds like she's the front woman of some like legendary rock band.
Right.
And so bringing someone in like Joan Jett, who we hear soon, like it makes total sense. It's like, oh, obviously she'd be on this record. It's just the perfect choice because like, this is what she's channeling.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't sure if we were going to get into the features, but like before the songs, but yeah, like you got Billy Idol and Joan Jett as guests on this album, which sort of gives, them coming in, giving their seal of approval. Like, yes, she's really doing this for real. Like, it's not some, it's not shallow. It's not, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's from the heart. She's making sure she's doing like the best possible version of this, and having those features on it really legitimizes the album. And it also they're great features.
Oh, they're fit
so
in.
Awesome.
They fit in perfectly. Perfect choices. Gorillas take some notes. Then we get into Give Me What I Want. I don't have too much written down about this, but it's still got some really cool like bass synth and like gated snare. You're bringing in these like retro production trends while still making a modern sounding album. And I think that's so important when you're making something quote unquote retro.
Right.
That it doesn't just sound like, oh yeah, you made an 80s record, or oh yeah, it does sound like a 70s record.
It's a take on it. Yeah.
It's a take on it, still sounds modern.
Yeah.
You got a lot of modern things going on while still showcasing some classic production stuff. And the gated snare is the most 80s thing you can do, and we hear it on Give Me What I Want. Then we get into Night Crawling, one of my favorites. 10 out of 10 I wrote.
I love that song so much. And Billy Idol, I love that Billy Idol's on this song.
Yeah.
He's the best thing he's done since Wedding Singer.
Even women are possessions to him.
Yeah. See, Billy Idol gets it. I don't know why she doesn't get it.
That's right. Yeah, Wedding Singer. Yeah, it's the perfect thing because this song starts and it already sounds kind of Billy Idol-ish.
Yeah, yeah.
Billy Idol-ish is a mix between Billy Idol and Billie Eilish.
It's a Billie Eilish cover band.
And then like their voices work so well together. It's like he's kind of got that rasp too. They're more similar than you think until you hear them on a song together. And it's like, oh yeah, perfect fit.
Well, it's like you don't really know that Miley can do this until she puts out this record. That's the thing.
Yeah, the post-chorus synth is really awesome on this. And this is the first time it happens on the record, but you get some space in the chorus, which I really like.
Yeah.
The chorus is, it's like da 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 da. Like you get space for the vocal to shine and the chorus to breathe a little bit before it can like explode into the post-chorus, which is something I'm noticing too. Is like choruses are almost starting to flip with post-choruses.
Yeah, there's like choruses have like multiple. There's a lot of post-choruses and codas and things happening in song structure, which I like.
I think that's really cool too. I'm all for it. Let's dismantle expectations of how pop songs are structured. And I think she's doing a little bit of that here. it's sounding so creative.
Right.
It sounds creative, and it sounds like she's just into it.
Each song is it all fits together, but each song has its own thing. It's the production is never really the same on any specific song.
Yeah. Midnight Sky is where I wrote down, this is a fully cohesive sound and vision, this record.
And this is I think she samples Stevie Nicks on this song. She's on the remix.
She's on the remix. I don't think there's a sample here. There's a part that sounds a lot like Edge of 17, which I assume led to the remix.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't looked into it, but it has that Stevie Nicks feel.
It's so good, and like I said, this is where I started to realize that this record somehow has a wholly unique sound in the pop world.
Right.
I think there's a lot you could point to, like, no, it sounds like this, it sounds like this, it sounds like this. But she brings it all together, and, credit to the production team as well, and really carves out a space where I didn't think there could be one.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the pop and the rock genres right now, and there's not like women pop rock. There's pop punk.
A lot of pop
happening, but it's not quite what she's doing.
Yeah, and making some choices that aren't really what you think production-wise. Like, there's a lot of reverb soaked on these vocals, and that's something you wouldn't really hear in a modern pop record. It's more in the rock space, like you said, like a Willow or something would have these big, like, soaring reverb vocal things. But you're hearing them here. It's a very unique sound that they nailed on this record. But High, the next track, is another ballad, and now I'm starting to realize, like, I guess I'm just, like, not into the ballads on this album.
A ballad guy generally. I don't think there's a lot of ballad. I mean, like pop ballads.
Yeah, I guess not. I am just so into what they have going with everything else on this album, and I feel like the ballads are sort of this, like, I don't know, not that the record comes to a halt, but a little bit.
Well, for you, yeah, I think High is just a stunning song. I absolutely love the song. I think her performance on it is gorgeous. I like the lyrics. It's a little country, which goes back to her, which is partly why it kind of sticks out a little bit.
Maybe it's that.
Yeah, I think it's the country influence that it really doesn't fit production-wise with the other stuff on the album. I still like it. I think she could have done, on a different album, but I'm glad it's on this album because I love it.
I think maybe mystery solved. I think you might have cracked it. Her country roots sort of start to show a little bit in the ballads.
It's a more clean performance. It's a more clean vocal performance.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not saying they're awful. Just for me personally, I'm way more into the other stuff happening on this record. So you get to hate me. And I'm not, like, super crazy about this one. Like, it sounds like it's from a different album, but you're starting to, like, get back into it a little bit.
Yeah,
this last
it's
act.
A dip for me a little bit, too. Not bad, but not my favorite. And
then Bad Karma. The vocal sample is cool.
The vocal sample is so cool.
That's something where, like, it wasn't planned.
Right.
They just, like, came out with that, messing around in the studio.
Yeah.
And it starts to inform the rest of the song.
So it's this little, like, to me, I'm pretty sure it's a Miley vocal sample. Could be Joan Jett, but it really just sounds like a Miley. And you can't really explain it, but they just cut up this little, like,
it's just a chop sample.
They just chop up, something that she's saying, and it repeats throughout the whole song, and it, like, makes it into something completely and totally different. I haven't heard a song like this, and the way that this song has a different feel than the other rock songs on this album, but works so perfectly.
This I completely agree, and this toms and bass feel on the verses is very rare these days, where it's just the tom drums, there's no big snare, and just this, like, pulsing bass. Like, Yeah, you don't hear that a lot right now. And so to have Joan Jett on this, and it's sort of a throwback.
When that Joan Jett comes in,
It's really,
you're so
really
happy
good.
about it.
The second verse, there's also this really cool, playful delay guitar going on that's like Flock of Seagulls or something.
Yeah,
and
it's
you
so
actually
different.
hear it tailing at the end of the song too.
I can't think of anything to compare it to.
Yeah, it's a very unique song.
I mean, we've been saying unique a lot, but what
I
else
guess
is there to
so.
say?
There's not a lot that sounds like this right now, I'd say. She pulled off something really cool here. And then we get to the end. Now, I think a ballad really fits at the end. So I was all for this one.
Yeah. So, Me, Never Be Me. That's another one. I like that one.
Yeah, I was fine on this one.
Yeah. And then we get to Golden G-String, which is like a song called Golden G-String. Like, what do you think that's going to be about? You think it's going to be a party song? No, it's like a very beautiful and like emotional exploration of her celebrity and her sexualization.
Yeah.
And her just experience going through. It's kind of like, I'm just thinking this comparison, but like, Billie Eilish with Happier Than Ever, she's sort of like commenting on her celebrity, but she's a lot younger. And to me, this is like accomplishes what that, like, especially the song Happier Than Ever is like.
Are you thinking of the right one? Or Your Power?
No, yeah. And there's like a couple of references on that. But this is doing that in a way that I respond to a lot more strongly.
Yeah, great closer. I would maybe flip so end on the ballad. Maybe I'm not sure about that. I if you watch this channel, you'll know that sometimes I get picky about like what should have ended the album. That's like elsewhere in the track list or something. I kind of feel like having this just be like straight through fun, and then it gets serious at the end with Golden G-String. Then hit it with the like ended on the ballad. Like
High or
no, maybe
or like Angels, like
no, the other would Never Be Me.
Never Be Me.
Yeah, because that one has a little more to it, fits on the record a little more, sort of wraps it up.
Yeah, Golden G-String for sure. It sticks out a little bit again, like High does. It's very like almost like a lullaby or something. It has this cadence that's very soothing. Not every lyric is perfect on that song, but it really gets me. I highly recommend that song if you just want that, if you want that like touches your heart kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like
sure. Yeah, I agree.
I think it's the strongest connection. That and High is where she connects most emotionally with her audience. And to me, that's a reason for them to be on the album. Sure.
That's totally valid. And one thing I do want to talk about too is the album cover.
Oh, yeah.
I love when an album cover looks like how the record sounds.
When it
sounds like an easy feat, but a lot of people don't really pull it off. I can look at the cover of this album and the name of the record, the overall attitude it's giving me, and when I listen to it, I think, yes, there's a connection. This goes together. It fits.
Yeah, I mean, that's your chance to tell people like what this is. And she looks like Cyndi Lauper meets Madonna on this album cover. Like they went all in on the styling for that and the font.
And the hot pink and the black. It's very, very cool. It makes me want it on vinyl. Big album artwork. Yeah.
We got it. When we have like our own house again, we'll get it on vinyl.
Yeah,
we'll be lugging it around.
All our records are in storage. But that wraps up our thoughts on Miley Cyrus, Plastic Hearts.
Plastic?
Plastic Hearts. Yeah, I guess I say Plastic Hearts. I say it a little
Is it
weird.
hard to say?
It's a little... No, it's not hard to say. I just can't speak.
Okay.
I'm bad at speaking, so I started a YouTube channel where we just talk. Thanks for watching. What do you think of this album? And is there anything in Miley's back catalog that we should revisit, maybe talk about? What if we like Plastic Hearts so much, what should we listen to next, right?
Well, clearly, we need to get into some Hannah Montana.
Go all the way back.
All the way back.
A full watch through. Start a rewatch podcast.
I've never seen the show.
Yeah, I've never seen the show either. But I'm glad she's doing this cool stuff. Can't wait for the next one. I want to see a live show. I want it all. Thanks for watching. This is Not Every Single. My name's Joe.
And I'm Stephanie.
Bye. I still haven't figured out an outro.